right, how is everybody tonight? We are officially live with another episode of Rockstar Partnership Live, coming at you every Thursday at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm your host, and I'm fired up, Bill Barneo. I'm here with my beautiful wife.
Hey, I'm Heather. How are you guys?
And we are having some fun here. We got a special guest who we're going to introduce in a minute. But the purpose of our show is to help realtors scale and build freedom. Our Rockstar motto is to help you earn more, have fun. So if you want to have a little bit of fun with us, feel free to grab a beer, a glass of wine, or whatever beverage of your choice. And then we also want to help you live free, because freedom is a big, important, thing that I think everybody desires to have. And I think sometimes in this industry, it's lacking. It's the hustle, 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 right? But then we don't have any time to balance our lives and have the freedom to do the things that we're passionate about, maybe the things that we believe God is calling us to do. And so we don't want to get caught up in the hustle to the point where it takes over our lives. So rock stars live free, right? All right, I have my man, Justin Ford, on with us. Justin is, he killed it in your first year. Correct me if I'm wrong on this stat, right? But you did 100 transactions in your first year in business?
Yes, sir. Sold 100 homes back in, I joined the business right at the end of 2013. And in my first 12 months in the business, I sold 100 homes.
Wow, dude, that's dope. That's an accomplishment. We're going to get into that, because I don't think that there's like things like that you just can't just like breeze past that quick, right? That's something that needs to be broken down. And I want to hear all about how you did that, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
Justin also has a book coming out. I just interviewed somebody else who has a book coming out, and I was joking because I actually have one in the process too.
Nice.
And I'm excited for you because I know I talked to you a little bit about it. So we're going to get into a little bit about your book and stuff too. We'll talk about that. And Justin is also a real estate coach is it pronounced Glover U, right?
Glover U.
Glover U, yeah. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to tell you guys all about, at the end of the broadcast, we have some information that can help you out with your real estate career and training and scaling your business. So stay tuned into the end, and we're going to offer you some things that we can help you with that. So, Justin, my man, we met, and I love this guy. I really do, because we're connected in a few different ways. Yep. You're a brother in the faith, right? So we kind of connected on that note right away. And with that, you know what I noticed about you, which I love, is such an awesome character. You're such a humble person and a giving person. And, I just find that, like, I admire that about, you. That's one of the things in your character that come out, and that's awesome. We are also brothers in EXP, our EXP family, right? So we're with a pretty exciting and dope company that we're excited about. Yep. So we have a connection, and we're here today to give you guys some content that's going to help you scale your real estate business in whatever company that you're at. And so with that, if it's okay with you, Justin, we also connected because we like hip hop, right?
Yes, sir.
So we're going to freestyle a little bit here on this broadcast. And what I like about freestyling is, like, you never know. It's like you never know what's going to come out, right? So the conversation can go all these different ways. And I find sometimes that's really fun. It's cool. It's exciting. And it allows us to really give what's inside of us, right? Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So we want to have a little bit of fun here, and we're going to chop it up, drop some bombs, hopefully, for you guys. We're going to do our best anyway to do so. And so with that, we are going to give you that great content. And we're going to start with, I'm going to ask you about your story. And I always like to do this with no matter who I'm interviewing, no matter who I'm talking to, because I think understanding a person's story, where they came from, how they got where they are, is something that sometimes gets overlooked by people. And so I just want to stay right there for a second. Your story, like, talk to us about, like, where you were, what got you started in real estate. Yeah. Like, bring us back.
Yeah. Well, I can bring you back even a little further than that.
Okay.
So, I'll kind of hit on a couple of points here. Obviously we talked about being brothers in the faith. And so I didn't grow up, saved. I wasn't a Christian growing up. My parents divorced when I was 2. I grew up in a broken home. And, at a very early age in my teenage years, I think you and I kind of talked a little bit about this when we first met. I just started, experimenting with drugs and alcohol and sex and all of these things. And, one of the things that a lot of, young people are influenced by and struggle with. And, it just kind of pulled me way off of the grid. And in a very short period of time, I got into a lot of trouble. I acquired 8 misdemeanors and a felony, sold drugs to an undercover cop, overdosed, almost died, got arrested 13 times, got beat up by the police, the scar on my eye, got a huge scar here. And I went down in the gutter. And, there was a period in my life where I just felt completely stuck and in bondage, where I didn't even know how to get out. And I remember just, praying and asking God to give me an opportunity to break free and to change. And it came after this drunk driving accident that almost took my life. And, I just asked God to give me a second chance, and he did. And I checked myself into a faith-based treatment center. And that's where I found the Lord. And, he saved me and just completely changed and transformed my life. And while I was in this homeless shelter, the Lord began to speak to me and show me that he was calling me to be successful. He wanted me to share my story, and just started showing me all these things about my life. And, after I got out of the treatment center and started turning my life around, I was introduced to the mortgage business, and I was always in some type of sales, whether it was selling drugs before I got saved. Or
you're an entrepreneur, though.
Yeah, I was an entrepreneur. So I thought, right?
I always joke with people and tell them my first gig, I was selling weed and stuff. So I was an entrepreneur before I was actually an entrepreneur. So yeah.
Yep. So it was always in some type of sales. But when I was introduced to the mortgage business, it was really my first exposure to commission sales. And what I found was I was really, really good at it. And so I was working a daytime job from like 8 to 5 at a telemarketing firm. And then I would go over to my buddy's mortgage shop, and I would make calls from 6 to 9, setting appointments for refinances. Well, I was setting like 7 to 10 every single night. And so I quit my daytime job and I went all into commission sales. And, I got that first taste of what commission sales, was like. Cause I grew up, we didn't grow up wealthy. We didn't grow up with, a bunch of money. So, the first time I got to experience some money, I was kind of like, wow, this is definitely the path I want to go down. But then the mortgage business crashed. I was, back in 2008, when everything just kind of fell out, me and my wife, we had just got married. We had a couple of kids, and we went from 6 figures to no figures overnight. I mean, we lost everything. We lost our cars to repossession. We had to go through bankruptcy. We had to go through foreclosure. We had to get on food stamps. We had to move in with my mom and live in her basement. And it was just like super, super tough. But, God had given me a vision of success and being an entrepreneur and doing something big with my life. And, everybody around me was telling me to throw in the towel and just go get a job. And I'm like, no, I believe God has done, wants to do something, bigger than just going to get a job. And so I was delivering pizzas at night while I was building my business during the day. And I started doing short sales and loan modifications, helping people during the foreclosure crisis. And then after that, I'm like, you know what? The market's starting to change. And I said, I should go get my real estate license. So I ended up getting my real estate license back in 2013. Okay. And I joined a team here in Michigan called Jeff Glover and Associates. They're the #1 team in Michigan for home sales. And I said, in order to be the best, you got to learn from the best. And so I was introduced to real estate, got into the business, and this kind of goes into, selling 100 homes.
Can we, before we get into that, you just dropped a bunch of things that I don't want to overlook yet.
Sure, okay? Go ahead. Yeah.
Because that's where I think that, when you have to look at people and when you understand their story, you got to pull the common denominators of success out of there. And it's the things that led up to you getting the license, and then obviously what you accomplished doing 100 homes in your first year. Yep. But when you were saying these stories, it's kind of crazy because I actually got into an accident. I have a scar as well and I sold it on the cover too. So I'm listening to you and I'm like, is this serious right now?
Yeah.
But you said, so you had, you started getting, you got started in sales, right? You learned the power of being able to not cap your income. And that got you excited to a degree, right? To know that, hey man, I don't have to work for an hourly rate, right? So we were talking about this before, that's something that you got to appreciate as an agent in the business, the potential to earn, because that's important. It's an important driving factor, and you tasted that. So I think for all agents that want to be successful, you've got to have that driving factor that says, hey, this is I can make this much, right? I can set goals. I can reach 6 figures. I can reach multiple 6 figures. I can even reach 7 figures, right?
Right. Yep.
And so I think those are very important. Did you have something that you wanted to add to that?
to that thought? No, not in particular. I mean, there's certainly a common denominator. Like, I know we've talked to, we've interviewed other people, and just kind of across the board, it seems that, there's always a story where somebody overcomes a struggle that they have to provide. And then they kind of have this enlightening experience. And once they are able to see what they could potentially earn, it really brings them like to the next level. So it's just pretty cool to see that. And in your case, of course, you had the inspirational side of it too, which is always, a accelerator.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you experienced what I experienced too. It was when the market crashed, right?
Yep.
You kind of had your lows, and I went through the same thing. I lost it all too. And the same thing happened. People were saying, just get a job. I could barely provide for my family, had kids, right? On the verge of, my credit's getting shot and stuff. Like, couldn't keep up at the time. And you know what? There was just this hunger inside of me that was like, no, I'm not going to get a job. I'm going to just keep, pressing forward. And I'm going to make it. I'm going to work through it. Right. I had that resolve. And that's definitely a common denominator of success is resolve, right? Understanding that, like, you know what, I'm not going to give up on what it is that I want, because we're going to get our ass kicked a little bit in life. And that's just an inevitable fact, right? Like, and, you gotta develop thick skin, and you got to understand, right, that, hey, don't allow the enemy of fear and all these things crush your dreams and the things that you want. So you settle into, a life that's less than what you really desire. I'm not here to tell you what to desire, but I'm here to tell you that if you do desire something, don't allow, the hardships of life to steal it and rob it from you. So I love your story because it's a story of being an overcomer. And that's something that I think is definitely a common denominator of all of the people that I've ever crossed paths with that are successful. That was one of the key factors to it. And here's a little interesting. I have this love for people with a kind of a screwed up past. I think we make for like very interesting people because you experience a lot of different things. I always joke with like some younger people. I'm like, yo, if you haven't gotten dirty at all, I'm not saying get real dirty, but just get a little bit dirty so you can experience and have like, and so I enjoyed your story. Now let's fast forward back into where you left off.
Yep.
You got your real estate license.
Yep. And
you obviously picked a great team and people that were going to mentor you, right, and help you. So talk to us about that. How in the world did you do 100 transactions in your first year?
Yeah. No, that's a good question. And so, I think that when you find the right system, and you see somebody that has the success that you ultimately want, success leaves clues, and you don't have to recreate the wheel. And so when I joined this real estate company, when I first interviewed with Jeff, what he had told me was, and it really kind of threw me off, is like, we do things a little bit different here. We're not your traditional real estate company. Because I thought, hey, you get your real estate license, you join a company, and you just start making a ton of money, right? And what he said is everybody here at our company has to go through a 90-day like boot camp where you're going to have to learn how to prospect and call expireds and for sale by owners for 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. And if you get really, really good at that, then you're going to be a great agent. And I remember, because, I had been a telemarketer back in the day, and I did phone sales. I worked for a travel agency. Yeah. I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I didn't want to be a telemarketer. And he's like, oh, by the way, you're not going to be able to work with any buyers or sellers. You're not going to be able to go on listing appointments or, make any offers. This is what you're going to do for 90 days. And we'll pay you $1,000 a month draw that you have to pay back. And I'm like, we just at that time had our fourth kid. I'm like, how in the world is a family of 6 going to be able to live off of $1,000 a month? Now, we were still on food stamps and stuff like that, but I'm like, that's not going to happen. So I left. My mentor at the time was like, how'd it go? I'm like, it didn't go that good. He wants me to be a telemarketer and pay me $1,000 a month. I thought I was going to be a real estate agent. And he asked me a question, though, that really kind of, how like sometimes we get these aha moments or these paradigm shifts.
Yeah.
He says, would you want to work there if you could? Could you see yourself being successful there? I said, absolutely. He said, but did you ask him for what you need or what you want to be there? And I'm like, no. And even the Bible says we have not because we ask not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I remember shooting him an email. I'm like, Jeff, I really want to work with you, but I can't do $1,000 a month. Can you at least do 2,000? And even 2,000, right? Like who could live off of that?
$500 a week, yeah.
And so he responded. He says, "Yep, I'll give you 2,000." So I remember when I went in there, I did a full week, like 5 days of just intense Mike Ferry videos, just learning the scripts, learning the role play, learning everything. But during that week, I got super excited because I saw all these agents in these videos, making 3, 4, 500,000, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million a year. And the foundation of their business was all prospecting. I'm like, well, shoot, I can do this. I used to do telemarketing. I used to do, all these other things. And every company that I was with, that I was on the phones, I was the best. So I'm like, all right, I can do this. So I remember coming back after that weekend of that intense training, day one, Monday, they gave me a phone, they gave me a desk, they gave me some leads and said, all right, make it happen. And I remember like just dialing one by one like this. And I'm like 45 minutes in and I'm like, man, this sucks. And this
45, yeah.
I'm like, no. But at that moment, I'm like, I was ready to quit. I'm like, but what do I really have right now? Like,
that was all kicked in.
Yeah.
I have nothing else, right? There's nothing else I can turn to right now. I remember looking up on the board because he had a board that just showed like all the listings and all the pendings and all that. And I'm just seeing like $6,000 checks, $10,000 checks, $15,000 checks. And I'm like, all right, well, if this leads to that, I'm going all in, right? I made a decision like I'm going all in and I'm gonna succeed at this no matter what. So I did that.
Is that another common denominator of success? Going all in?
I mean, it's all or nothing. It's all or nothing.
Yeah.
Like you can't tiptoe success. You can't have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And along my journey, I realized that success is the only option, right? You can't have a plan B. There is no plan B. It's either you're gonna succeed or you're gonna succeed, right? You're gonna figure out a way.
Yeah, burn the bridges, right?
So I burned the bridges that day, and I remember doing 90 days of prospecting, and I just crushed it. I was the top ISA, which is the inside sales agent for those 90 days, and I couldn't wait, right, for that month where it was my turn to get out and start meeting with sellers. And so that came in February of 2014, and we were just coming back from a Mike Ferry conference. And at that conference, Mike was like, okay, everybody, how many homes do you want to sell this year? Write it down in your book. And I remember writing down 100 homes sold. Like that was my goal.
This was 3 months deep into your 12 months already.
So this was 3 months of prospecting. So I I wasn't even really a real estate agent yet. So my 12 months really didn't start till February.
Gotcha.
And so I came out of the gate in February. I took 30 listings my first month in the business. I took 33 listings my second month, put 9 under contract, took 100 listings in my first 6 months, and sold 100 homes my first year. 90% of it was from prospecting.
Wow. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that. I mean, that's obviously you developed a strength. You had some experiences of doing some telemarketing and stuff.
Yep.
What do you attribute to the keys that are that are necessary to be successful when you're prospecting? Help some of the the agents watching that.
Sure.
Like you said before too. Like I don't think many agents they don't like that. They don't want to do that. It's something that you're like, So what would you have to say to them?
Yeah, here's what I would say to them, and this is for anybody. And whether I'm speaking, to a group of agents or coaching some agents that I coach. The thing that I always say is this, right? If you're not making the amount of money that you want to make in real estate, or you're not selling the amount of homes you want to sell, it's real simple, right? It just means that you're not talking to enough people. That's what it completely comes down to, is the way that we get to a transaction first starts with a conversation. And it doesn't matter if it's a lead that comes in from Zillow or whatever, there needs to be a conversation that is had. And there's no faster way to get a deal now than picking up the phone and calling a for sale by owner expired. Just this morning, we created a prospecting war room where everybody on my team comes on. We do Zoom at 8 a.m. We're all prospecting. And I set an appointment this morning. I set one yesterday. To me, when you can set an expired or a for sale by owner, go on the appointment, take the listing and have it up on the market in less than a week. And in this market, it sells like immediately.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
the ROI on that was, I mean, think about it.
Yeah. Did you have a question about rapport?
Yeah, I did. So like Phil stated, I think a lot of agents are probably not willing at this very moment, or they feel uncomfortable, getting on the phone with somebody that may be an expired or maybe a for sale by owner. So my question to you, right? I felt it where I didn't want to do it at certain times. How do you build rapport with somebody and really feel them out and are able to connect with them in such a short amount of time on the phone? Like, let's just say that somebody answers and they're not immediately receptive to whatever it is that you're trying to ask them. How do you really dig deep in such a short couple minutes to be able to set an appointment with them?
Yeah, you have to be asking them questions.
Okay.
What I say is selling is not telling, selling is asking questions.
Yeah.
And if you follow a script and you know what questions to ask and you kind of lead them down a path of asking questions, because when you're asking questions, you're in control, right? And if someone's answering those questions, they're basically giving you information. And when they give you an objection, an objection is just a question that's unanswered in somebody's mind. And so when you can overcome that, answer that question, they're more likely to listen to you. But I think going back to what you guys both said is why agents are apprehensive or not willing to get on the phones. It goes to mindset. That's all it is. We don't like rejection. Nobody likes to be rejected. But, we have a Glover-ism that we say at Glover, our coaching company, is the more rejection I get, the more money I make. Right?
Yeah, it's a different mindset.
It is. It all goes back to mindset. Right.
Yeah.
And so, when I'm training a group of agents or I'm training my team, like I had a guy this morning in our prospecting war room where he said, like, Justin, I've been afraid to do this, like scared completely, like the anxiety is overwhelming.
Yeah.
Said, I see you do it and it works. The very first call he's ever made as an agent, prospecting, he set a $300,000 appointment. Now this dude is jacked up.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't even know how that happened.
Yeah, that was probably God's grace, because the next 10 are going to be probably a lot tougher. But it's like the fighter. It's like I'm not even in a fight yet until I get punched in the face, right? Like I want that first punch in the face, because that's what gets you going. When you realize, like you said, and you have the proper mindset that okay, I need to get a little bit of rejection, because it's going to happen. So just get on there, right? Get punched in the face a little bit, and then you can start bobbing and weaving better, because you got more, you got more experience.
And I think another reason why people are apprehensive is because they don't know what to say, right? They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. And, once they, get told to F off or go to hell or, stop calling my house, go get a real job.
People actually say that stuff?
Oh, yeah. You're the scum of the earth. Go get a real job. Stop calling my house.
Actually, not to interrupt you, that brings up a good point too. Do you have several scripts based off of your experience with how people react? Do you generally kind of categorize it into like 1, 2, or 3? It's kind of going to go one of these 3 ways, or do you just kind of freestyle and have one script and just wherever it goes, you answer appropriately?
Yep. So we have a for sale by owner script and we have an expired script. So both of those scripts are different.
Okay.
And when it comes to expireds or for sale by owners, there's only a handful of objections that they're going to give you, right? And we've got all those categorized and give people the actual objection handlers on what to say to overcome them. But we also say don't waste time with a no, right? And when I say no, it's not like no, I'm not interested. It's I've overcome every objection. I've come at them with every angle and every question, and this just isn't going to go anywhere. You just move on to the next call.
Yeah.
Okay.
The faster you move on, right? The quicker to.
Yeah. And Jim Rohn, we all know who Jim Rohn is, right? He's
love that guy. He's responsible for like saving my life back in the day.
And you'll appreciate this. Jim Rohn has a training on YouTube called The Law of Averages.
Yeah.
And all that means is, if you talk to enough people, a ratio shows up. And when I tell people, like, listen, you might not like the rejection. Nobody does, but you can overcome that, right, with your mindset. Yeah. Nobody wants to be told no, but if you get 9 no's that lead you to a yes, is it worth it? Absolutely, right? So I'll take 9 no's to get a yes. And a way that we help people shift their mindset is if you begin to make calls and you expect people to say no, like it doesn't affect you as much. And what Jim talks about is if you just do it enough, you're gonna set appointments. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, just because it's the law of averages.
And then the cool thing about the law of averages is, once you start to get your feet wet and you gain experience and you start to understand the objections, and you can, like, at will know how to respond to them,
Yep.
your batting average goes up, right? Instead of batting 100, now you're batting 300, And so now, instead of 1 out of 10, now maybe you're getting 2 out of 10, right? You just doubled your average.
Yep.
And that's a cool thing. But most people, it's hard because a lot of times, people have that fear of rejection, and they don't allow themselves to get to that point where their average goes up to make it even more worthwhile, right?
Yeah. And this just goes back to what we were talking about. Like, what are the traits of people who are successful?
Mm-hmm.
People that are successful are willing to be told no, right? They're willing to be rejected. They're willing to go through the hard stuff, right? To get to where they ultimately want to go. And I tell people all the time is, being successful and getting that breakthrough and living the life that you want to live is hard, but staying the same and never growing, never being successful, staying discouraged, whatever, that's hard too. You just have to pick your heart.
Totally. Choose your pain. It's both are painful. Choose your pain.
That's
and
it.
the reward.
Staying nervous and staying, scared to make the call doesn't help either. I was going to ask you one thing too. So just from my experience, like occasions where I didn't necessarily feel comfortable, or I had never done something before and I was a little bit, a little nervous about it, like, first listing appointment or first appointment where you were trying to gain the listing. You knew that they were interviewing other agents.
Yep.
Do you find that you get more success from having a script, or do you think that sometimes it's a little bit overthought and the agents should just maybe resort back to being a human being that cares about people? Because a lot of FSBOs and a lot of expireds, from what I've learned, are situations that are not always easy for that person. Sometimes it's a divorce, sometimes it's a death in the family, sometimes it's, things that are out of their control. And so a lot of times they're overwhelmed. And so just resorting back to being a caring person and individual and like resonating with them has helped me more so than even having a script.
Well, and I think you have to, so I always say is like, people don't choose you or hire you based on what company you're with or what script you follow. It's based on how you make them feel. And, what's great about having a script is just asking questions, but you have to lead with your personality and you have to make that connection. And so when people, whether it's prospecting, whether it's going on a listing appointment, whether it's doing a buyer consultation, like there has to be some type of roadmap that somebody follows to go from point A to point B. And what I always say is you have to make that your own, right? Build your personality into that.
Yeah.
But when you go in, like when I teach my agents, like when you go into a listing appointment, these things have to happen. But you have to be personable, right? You have to build rapport and you have to make that connection with them. So that they're comfortable and confident to work with you.
Don't be a SpongeBob SquarePants and be so focused on, when you're so focused on getting the listing and like you said, instead of just being yourself and building rapport with them and, hey, if and you're confident that you're a great agent and that you're going to serve them well, then there's nothing to worry about. And if you have, a listing presentation and a script or, something that guides you, then you just be yourself. And I think that rapport, sometimes, I mean, I know about the personalities. We don't have time to get into it in this, but I know one of your trainings is like helping people, when you're dealing with, like a lead or whatever, to understand that. And I'm very big on that as well. And like, there's some personalities, like especially a blue, you're just going to, as soon as they like you, they're listening with you. They don't care about anything else. So you definitely want to, obviously have that personality and rapport, no matter what the personality is. You want to build that rapport first.
Absolutely.
Into it. So let's talk a little bit about, we'll get back to some good content in a second here, but what about your book? Tell us about your book. What's your book about? What's the deal with that? Write it.
So back when at least 10 years ago, right, the Lord spoke to me about writing a book, and then it was confirmed prophetically like 3 or 4 different times. So I'm like, okay, God, you want me to write a book? I'll write a book. And about 10 years ago, I opened up my laptop to just start writing a book, and I got like stuck. I'm like, I don't know how to write a book. I'm not a writer. So I closed my laptop, and like 7 years later, somebody comes to me again, like, it's time for you to write your book. So I'm like, okay, God, I'm going to write my book. So I'm like, okay, what's the book going to be about? And so what my book is called is Unleashed, 7 key principles to breaking free and breaking through. And I talk about my story of everything that I went through and how I went through that, came to know the Lord. And then someone asked me, they're like, Justin, what are some of the success points or keys to your success that you've been able to create after all of that stuff that's happened to you? And so I really spent 3 years. It took me 3 years to really, spend time really praying on this, thinking about this, and creating this book.
Molding it together.
Give specific key principles to anybody in life. It doesn't have to be whether they're on drugs or, in and out of jail, but, just overcoming the things, even we're talking about right now with prospecting, right? Overcoming the things that hold us back in life so that we can ultimately live the life that God has called us to live.
Right. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. And everybody needs, I'm such a big believer because I coach mindset and everything, because I think it's so important. And I think it's so overlooked by people. It's so easy to just say, well, just teach me how to be successful in this.
Right.
But I can't if you don't have the proper personal development and mindset. I can't do anything for you. I can give you scripts, right? I can show you how to do everything. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the right mindset and the personal growth, you're going to quit. You're going to give up. If you don't understand, right, why you do the things you do, especially if you don't know why you really want it, if it's not a deep-rooted understanding, then you're not going to have the resolve to be able to, to get there. So I think that's awesome, man. I can't wait to read your book. Hopefully you let me know when when is it coming out? When are you dropping this bad boy?
So it should be in the next 30 days. We just sent everything over to the printing company, and they're going to be sending us an official hard copy in the next 10 days to actually preview the book.
Okay.
So once we've previewed it and everything looks good and we sign off on it, then we're going to do a book release. So
awesome. And hey, man, if you want to shoot me a nice signed copy, I would love to read it and give you a nice review on it too, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that stuff, reading people's stories like I started with. So as we're getting ready to wrap up and closing and stuff a little bit, let's just drop a couple more bombs real quick. And then, to help the agents that are watching. Yep. So you've obviously, you're strong when it comes to the prospecting and stuff like that. What other things have you used to grow your real estate career when it comes to leads and stuff like that? Do you have any other methods that you're partaking in, or is?
Yeah, we're a listing based business where we really focus on listings, and so obviously you're still going to have buyers that you work with. And one of the things that I learned early on was creating leverage within your business. And so one of the things that when you get to a certain level, all of us know that you can only do so much until you start compromising your service to clients. And so for anybody that's looking to grow and scale their business, I highly recommend creating some type of leverage because when you ask what other things am I doing, just through prospecting alone, I create enough business to where I really don't need to do anything else. But obviously, we all want to scale and grow and create more opportunities. And so what I say is someone can legitimately do 100+ transactions on their own if they have someone doing their paperwork, whether it's a full-time assistant or a transaction coordinator, and somebody who's doing their showing. So I have a showing agent who shows all my homes, and it allows me to just focus on, generating new opportunities and going on appointments. I think having listing opportunities, and we all have these in our markets now. You've got your Home Lights, you've got your, Ojo, your Redfin, your UpNest, you've got, Dave Ramsey, which he doesn't like working with EXP agents. But also you've got like, what's the other one? Ideal Agent, which we're starting to see in markets all over the country. If you're a good agent, you have a track record and you've sold a lot of homes, I always say, go build relationships with them. It's like receiving a referral. It's like if I were to send you guys a referral, you're going to pay me a referral fee, and you guys are going to be happy, if I can send you, right? Well, a lot of these sites that are out there. So we partner with all of those. We also use some AI technology for our database called YLOPO that we've incorporated into our follow-up boss, where, this AI technology will go and recreate, leads that you've had in your database, let's say 3, 4, 5 years.
So you're, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, so you've got a marketing system and everything set up, and you guys are doing your thing and you're generating the leads and stuff.
Yep.
Which I think is awesome. And that's how you're being able to scale. Like you said, leverage, right? We have to create leverage in business if we want to scale, right?
Yep.
There's no way around it. You can only do so much revenue and so many transactions on your own. And then you've got to figure out how you're going to leverage it. Let's kick it backwards 1 second though, and let's talk to the newer real estate agent for a minute. That's just getting started, that can't afford to do things with leverage and stuff like that. We've already told them that what they can do is for 90 days, go call people. But what else can they do if they want? Like, what advice would you have for somebody getting started that does need to, make some money and do some things and help the new agent out for a second? What advice would you give them?
I also, and that's a great question, because, we have a lot of new agents that join our team. And I like to say right off the bat is, this is not easy, right? 90% of real estate agents are out of the business in their first 24 months, because I think there's a false expectation that's created that, people are just going to get into real estate and they're going to be a rock star and things are just going to happen. And when they don't happen, they get discouraged. And so one of the very first things that we teach our brand new agents is, to sit down and compile a list of every single person that in your world. I mean, literally your people at your church, your friends, your family, the person that cuts your hair, the parents of the kids at your school, high school, where your kids go to school or whatever. Like, you have to get a list of people and then reach out to them, right? You have to let your sphere of influence know that you're now in real estate. And it's real simple. Hey, Phil, this is Justin. Hope you're doing well. Hey, the reason for my call is I just wanted to let you know that I'm super excited. I just got my real estate license, and, I just wanted to share that with you. And, my plan is to help 20 families this year buy or sell a home. And I just wanted to know, who do you know currently that's looking to buy or sell a home right now?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And if you have those conversations, like I call it creating your list of 100. So all of our brand new agents have to create their list of 100. It's the first thing that they do. And they have to call every single person. It's crazy. We had a girl brand new call her list of 100. She got 6 listings out of calling her sphere of influence. And when we talk about making calls, that's the easiest call to make, because you already know the people.
Absolutely. And they want to support you.
And
on that note too, one of the things I think that I find sometimes with new agents is they don't let their sphere of influence, their warm market, know that they're agents enough to where it starts to brand themselves. Because you can, even if you just call that, let's say you call your 100 in your warm market, and that's awesome. I mean, there's a good chance you're going to get some listings, or people might be looking for a home. But then even after that, you got to nurture that 100. You can't just go ghost. And then they think that, that was just something that Johnny or Susie was doing there, but they're not really an agent anymore, right? Like, you've got to brand yourself on your page, on social media, follow back up, send some text,
And what I say is, especially for you new agents, is when people think of real estate in your world, they need to think of you, right? And what, Phil, you just said is like, yes, you need to let them know you're in business, but then you need to create a plan of action, how you're going to stay in front of them and add value to them, ongoing. And when you do that, and you come from a place of contribution and you add value to the relationship, not always just asking for a referral, referral will show up, because they're going to think, oh, you know what? So-and-so at work wants to buy a house. Oh yeah, you got to call Justin, right? Justin can help you. And then when you stay top of mind, you want the people in your world to become your biggest raving fans. I mean, there's no cost for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think when it comes to new agents, the most important thing is utilizing every single form of free advertising that you could potentially get. And your warm market is like your army, like they already like you. They're your friend or family. So why not have them spread the word? Why not give them more business cards? Why not stay top of mind and keep posting on your social media? So that's kind of what we're trying to teach, newer agents too, is that every opportunity, just keep branding yourself, just keep marketing yourself, just utilize every opportunity to let people know that you're a realtor and that you want to help them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the paid marketing can come later.
Yeah, that's something that, obviously down the road, as you start to become more successful and have some revenue that you can reinvest into the business, then you can start to do things like that. But that's not the case a lot of times, right, for new agents. So I'm thinking here, as we come to a close, one of the things, like obviously being a personal development, teacher and coach here, like our habits and the way that we spend our time are so important, right? Our habits predict our future. Right. So talk to me. What is the typical Justin Ford day look like?
Yeah. So I'm usually up anywhere between 4:30 and 5:30. Okay. And, wake up, spend some time reading the word. And because I'm super, super busy right now, I was just telling my daughter, because I've got a 21-year-old daughter and she's looking to come on board to help me with some stuff. I get 200 emails every single day. And what I used to try to do was answer my emails all day long. And it's like you're constantly reacting and you're not getting the stuff done that you need to get done. So like after I'm done reading the word, I go into my email and I just clear all of my emails. I try to answer as many of them as I can. And then I go to the gym, run 2 miles every day in the morning. And then on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I prospect with my team from 8 until about 10. And then after that, we do a team training every day on Zoom from 11 till 12. And then from there, I'm on appointments. So
okay. Awesome, man. Awesome. I think, that's cool. You have a routine that's a successful routine, right?
Yep.
And that's something that, if anybody's watching and you don't have, a successful routine, if you just kind of wake up and you don't know what you're doing,
then, taking it day by day.
Yeah. And, that's so important to kind of have that, mapped out, because it's the actions that you're taking that are going to produce the fruit, right? So you got to understand, if you're not prospecting, if you're, like you said, that going back to the beginning, if you're not talking to enough people, then you're not getting their attention to bring them into the leads process. You don't have any leads if you're not talking to any people. At the end of the day, that's what it kind of comes down to. So
absolutely.
I know you're a really busy man, and I really appreciate being able to chop it up with you, having some fun here. We talked about, the training company that you're with. Yep. If some agents want to get plugged in and maybe receive some training and stuff like that to help them grow and scale their business, where can they go to find out? We'll put in the comments and stuff like that as well, but just let them know where to go.
Yeah, for sure. What I can do is even just give you guys some free resources. We have a script book that have all of our scripts, are for sale by owner, expired, just listed, just sold, all the objections. You can actually text the word scripts to 55444, and we will email you the entire script book that we use. We use it every single day.
We'll post that in the comments and stuff too. We'll get the information for them.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then if you go to gloveru.com, you can learn more about our coaching company. There's all about our coaches and our programs. But the program that I lead and the program that I teach is called the Prospecting Boot Camp. And so when we were talking about the hesitation of agents to prospect, because a lot of them don't know what to do. It's a 16-week class. It's every Monday on Zoom from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern. And for 16 weeks, I literally take somebody through the A to Z's of everything prospecting, from mindset to scripts to role playing to, social media to door knocking to the 4 personality styles. Awesome. And anybody that goes through this program and actually does the work gets results. It's only $300 a month for 4 months. So it's a $1,200 investment. Now, what I always tell people is, how many listings would you need to take in order to recoup $1,200? And there was a guy that just finished our class. He was at our conference recently, and he hated prospecting, but he took the boot camp. He took 19 listings during the 16-week process. So
now he's kicking ass.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And you know what? It's not an expense. It's literally an investment. I mean, and that's the truth. There are certain expenses that we have, but education in the form of, something that's going to give you an ROI in your business is not an expense. It's an investment. And that's what I always tell people. And you've got to invest in yourself and in your business if you want to grow and be successful.
Yep.
So Justin, my man, thank you for chopping it up with us. We had a great time. I really, I hope that, all the agents watching, I'm sure they got some good content. I know you dropped some really nice nuggets for them, and I always appreciate that. You're always a humble, giving brother, and that's what, I was hoping when you came on, I knew you were going to drop some content. So we are very appreciative of you and the time that you spent here with us and the giving that you, did. as far as everybody watching either live right now or on the on the YouTube channels and the podcast and everything. So do you have anything you want to say in closing?
Oh, thank you so much. No, it was great chatting back and forth. And I think that a lot of people are going to benefit from, what we talked about.
Yeah. Thank you guys for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. God bless you. We will see you on another episode of Rockstar Partnership Live. I hope you enjoyed this. In the comments we'll put some information on how you can learn more and scale your business with Justin. Take care. Peace out. God bless.
See you soon.